I have to be honest, guys, Spanish is boring to me now, and for that reason I canceled my trip to Panama last minute. So right now I'm supposed to be on a flight to Panama City, Panama, but obviously I'm not. I'm still in the Metro Atlanta area recording this video for you all, and so I wanted to talk about what's going on, what's going through my mind. I'm thinking in Spanish, pasando. What's going on in my mind that indirectly forced me to cancel this trip. And I want to talk about this because I think this is something that, again, as always, this channel is meant to share what's happening, how I'm experiencing the Spanish language learning process. And recently I've been feeling a certain way that I haven't articulated a lot here on my channel. I've mentioned it occasionally, but I haven't really emphasized this point. And the point that I'm going to discuss has to do with why I canceled my trip to Panama. So if you've watched my videos in Peru, you know that I mentioned that towards the end of my trip in Peru, I apologize for the birds there. Towards the end of my trip in Peru, I started to notice that the novelty of speaking Spanish started to wear off. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the excitement of simply asking for something or communicating in Spanish went away. That excitement was going away last September. Follow me. Last September, I was losing that excitement. Just being in an airport in Peru was not as exciting as it was when I was in Colombia, when I was, you know, asking people here in the Metro Atlanta area things in Spanish. That excitement, that novelty had gone away a little bit. It waned a little bit. A year later now, where I am now, that novelty of speaking Spanish has gone away, guys. Like, me speaking Spanish is not exciting anymore. It's not fun. It's just normal. It's normalito. It's normal. It's not some big, profound, exciting thing, okay? And so that's one thing in terms of the novelty wearing off with me learning Spanish that it stops me from wanting to just go to a random country where I don't know anyone just to practice Spanish. Like, that doesn't seem appealing to me anymore, because simply speaking Spanish is not fun or appealing to me anymore. It's normal. It's normal. It's what I do. Not in a cocky way. It's just I've genuinely gotten to a point where manejo bien con el idioma. Okay, so that's one thing that I wanted to add here first. I also wanted to give you all some tangible examples of how that manifests itself in my life on a daily basis. That lack of novelty. Before, I work at a different school now, but before, at the school that I worked at last year and the years before, the other staff members knew that I spoke Spanish, and so they would call me up to the front office to speak with Spanish-speaking parents, or to translate a note from a parent, or do anything like that related to Spanish. That used to excite me, okay? That used to excite me. Now, I'm not saying it's an annoyance, but I don't get any kind of joy from doing that. I get the joy that I receive from doing that is the joy that you would get from helping someone in general, but just the pure joy that I used to get from speaking Spanish, or that ability, has gone away. And I used to ask, I had a coworker at my old school who's Cuban, and he used to get frustrated when I used to ask him to do that. I used to be like, in my head I used to be like, why would he get frustrated? Like, why would he not want to do that? And I see now why, because it's not fun. If that's your language that you speak natively, it's not like some fun thing. It really is just taking you out of the normal workflow that you're in. So that's another tangible example of what I mean there. And that lack of novelty, that lack of excitement, is one reason why I didn't think that it was necessary or would have even been beneficial to go to Panama. I'm gonna add more reasons here. That's not the only reason, but that's one thing that we can mix into this gumbo, for lack of a better way of describing that. The next thing that I wanted to mention, and this is somewhat of a warning for those of you that are earlier along in the language learning process, what I noticed from myself and what I've noticed with a lot of other language learners, specifically in terms of Spanish, and specifically those of us that are from the United States and the UK, is we can suffer from something called the grass is greener syndrome. And what do I mean by that? Again, I've always said this before, I've always been exposed to other cultures, but I wasn't really metido, like deep into the mud of other cultures before I started learning Spanish, and I had to do that to really understand and learn Spanish well. And so in the beginning, when you're learning about all these differences in South America and Central America, that, you know, the culture of family, the culture of spending time together, all these different things, just these unique things that are different from your daily experience here in the United States, you can unfortunately suffer from believing that the grass is greener over there. Like, oh, they have a much better quality of life, this is better there, people are not as materialistic, and those things may be true. They may be true. Objectively, they may be true. Or our excitement, our new discovery, our lack of experience could make us believe that things are different, when really a human being is a human being. And I've learned that through the few travels that I've had, and me speaking Spanish for the 3 years, almost 3 years, approaching 3 years that I have, I've learned, guys, that I don't care where the person's from. Again, I haven't had experience with all languages, but I realize people are people anywhere you go. So here's a common, and this video is going to be long, I'm giving you a heads up. Here's a common thing that people that are learning Spanish say, and I suffered from this. Oh man, in the United States, people are so materialistic. And so I want to go to South America because the people aren't as materialistic. Guys, I think materialism is a human condition. It's what keeps it under control is the economic environment in which you live in. So I think human beings naturally, if we're not aware of it, are materialistic. It's just that if you live in the United States, you have access to manifest that materialism in your belongings, in your home, in your cars, and things like that. And I say that to say, I'm rambling, guys, but I say that because if you really know Spanish and you talk to people from other countries, sorry, the truck there. I'll be talking to someone from Colombia or Mexico, whatever, and they'll tell me, yeah, here people are endeudadas. La gente es endeudada. Meaning a lot of people are in debt. A lot of people are buying things they don't need. A lot of people, so the myth that consumerism and materialism is an American construct or an American problem, it's not. These are not things that, I'm rambling, guys. Let me stop. What I'm saying here is that I've realized in the short time that I've learned Spanish, people are people. So yeah, we have different cultures, but people are people at the end of the day. I've met people who speak Spanish and I'm like, you act like my cousin from Savannah, Georgia. Like, you act like my cousin. Or you act like one of my friends from Dallas. Like, you have a very similar personality. It's simply just the language and culture and the beliefs that are different, but at the core we're all the same. I'm rambling here. So that's the other thing that has kind of stopped me from wanting to go to Panama, and it stopped me from wanting to be this exploration, like this guy that just explores all these countries and just flies hours and hours just to go to a country to practice speaking Spanish. It's not as appealing anymore, because I'm realizing with time, number one, me speaking Spanish is not as fun anymore, and number two, I'm realizing because I speak Spanish that people are just people. They're just people. Okay, so hopefully that point made sense. I want to add some other things here. Again, this video is going to be long. I'm giving you a heads up, it's going to be pretty long. The other reason that I canceled my trip to Panama is because if I were to ask you, if you live in the United States, what country do you think is most similar to the United States? In terms of language, people, aesthetics of cities, most of us, I would argue, would say Canada, okay? You go to Canada, you go to the United States, yes, there are subtle differences. Yes, there are subtle differences. I've never been to Canada, so I can't say for sure, but from what I've seen from the exterior, there are subtle differences, but I'm imagining that there are a lot of similarities. You're not gonna get a completely different experience in Toronto versus Buffalo, New York, in my opinion, okay? With that said, in my limited travel experience to Mexico when I was a teenager, to Puerto Rico when I was a teenager, to Colombia as an adult, to Peru as an adult, yes, guys, yes, there are differences. There are subtle differences in Latin America, in the region of Latin America. But I'm noticing that things are pretty similar. Again, not to say that they're the exact same, but again, follow me with that comparison between the United States and Canada. The United States and Canada, they're not completely the same, but they are fairly similar. I got the same vibe, and I'm getting the same vibe as I explore countries in Latin America. Their things are pretty similar. The historical roots of the cultures are similar. Thereby, the modern way that we see these cultures and the way that these cultures manifest themselves now is pretty similar. Again, there are differences, but it's pretty similar. So for that reason, again, with this week off that I had to ask myself, okay, speaking Spanish just casually is not going to be fun. You really aren't going to, you're going to go to some markets, maybe see some things that are unique, but it's pretty much the same as what you've seen before. Not saying they're the same, guys. I'm not trying to insult anybody here. I'm just saying pretty much. It's nothing super profound. That's different, okay? So that's the other reason. And on top of that, I wanted to mention some external factors that forced me to cancel this trip. And not literally forced me, but indirectly influenced me to cancel this trip. And I apologize, I'm sweating a lot. It's September in Georgia, still pretty hot out here, like 90 degrees. But Panama, for the past month and a half, 2 months, has been there have been major protests, and with the limited experience, sorry guys, I'm stuttering a lot. I can't speak. The few people that I've spoken with, the few Panameños, the few people from Panama that I've spoken with that live in Panama, when I ask them, hey, do you think that there's a possibility that these protests can continue, or they can, things could get, the pot could stir again and there could be another protest? Everyone's telling me like, I don't know. They're not saying no. They're not even saying yes. They're like, I don't know. The protests there are not going to be violent towards a tourist, but what it would do is it would stop me from being able to enjoy the city, because they block off different highways. And so I didn't think it would be a good idea to risk spending a week in a country where I'm stuck in a hotel because I can't travel around the city because there are protests blocking the roads. The other external factor that forced me to cancel this trip, these are all minor things, I just wanted to articulate this to you all, is that Panama's in their rainy season right now. So again, I didn't want to experience this country, and again, I knew that beforehand, but this mix of all these feelings has really added that that has now been a part of my decision making for canceling the trip. But I didn't want to be there for 7 days and it be raining half of the day for 5 out of those 7 days. I couldn't really, even if I wanted to experience the culture, I really would have been inside a lot of the time. And then the third thing that I've heard a lot from Panamanians is that, hey, yeah, it's very similar to the United States. It's a Spanish-speaking country, but it's very similar to the United States. I'm not going to travel 4 hours, pay money for a hotel just to be in the United States or be surrounded by my peers, okay? And so that's another reason, an external factor that influenced me to cancel this trip. So it's a big mix of things. After this point, I want to start talking about some things that I would like to do moving forward now that Spanish has become mundane. And again, when I say that, I'm not saying interacting with the language has become mundane. I still love speaking Spanish, but I'm saying that excitement, that novelty has worn off. So I know I've said here on this channel that my goal is to travel to all of the Spanish-speaking countries on the planet. Guys, I'm being honest, that's not my goal anymore. And I can't control how my internal intuition is telling, like my internal gauge of what I want to do, my internal desires, there's none there. There are none there for just gallivanting around the world and traveling to different countries just to say I've been there or just to speak with the people. That's gone away. I've enjoyed it while it lasted. Hey, traveling to Colombia, Peru. I still want to travel, but me just traveling to some random place where I don't know anyone, just to say that I've been there, to say that I speak Spanish there, to say that I experienced it, I don't see that as, I don't know why I don't see it as interesting anymore, appealing, but I just don't. It seems there's no novelty there. I don't see me landing in El Salvador, as an example, and being like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing experience, like it was in the beginning when I started learning Spanish. That novelty is worn off. What I can see myself doing, and this is a point that I don't know if I've articulated here in this video yet, is if I have a reason, like I know someone in this country, and I can spend time with them and experience a specific custom or a specific family event or a specific anything that has to do with human connections and people, I'm down for it. So I know I mentioned before that I keep mentioning Colombia. That is because I know at least 10 people there that if I went there, I could stay at their homes. They would trust me to watch their kids, to watch their, like if they would leave me at the house by themselves, they would leave me at their homes when they left to watch the house. Like they would trust me with that. And those are just examples, not that I want to do any of those things. Those are just examples to show you how strong these connections are. And so I would travel for personal connections, for personal relationships. What seems appealing to me is all of us taking a group trip and me facilitating you all speaking Spanish with native Spanish speakers in other countries. That seems appealing to me. That form of travel seems appealing to me. But me just getting up and going and looking at churches and looking at eating patacones and eating this by myself, it's just not appealing anymore. So that's another reason why I canceled that trip. Spanish has taught me a few things. Spanish has taught me to value what I have, to be thankful. It's taught me to value and appreciate my family and my personal relationships. So as a result of that, I know I've also mentioned on this channel, and guys, this is a full rambling video. I'm being honest, I'm not following any kind of outline, any coherent path here. But Spanish has taught me to value my friends and my family more. It's taught me to just value the little things in life because of the cultures that I've been exposed to as a result of that. So right now, guys, I don't have some strong desire to live in another country either. I don't. I think what's best for me, my ideal situation right now, is just to enjoy the language, possibly learn Mandarin Chinese. That's interesting me. But just enjoy. Spanish itself has taught me that I personally should be valuing what I have here. Again, not saying I don't want to travel, but valuing what I have here versus just gallivanting all around the world trying to check off this checklist of saying I've been to all these countries when really I'm kind of doing the same thing in every country. It's not really much different in my opinion. Again, I may be ignorant in this, guys. I may come back in 3 weeks and say, not 3 weeks, in 3 years and say, hey, you know what, I was wrong. I took this trip by myself without any personal connections during this trip and it was great. We'll see. But right now, I don't see that. I'll give you another thing that I wanted to mention here that's piggybacking off of the first point that I made. How a lot of us, when we learn another language, and Spanish in particular, suffer from the grass is always greener on the other side. If you let us tell it, as people that are learning Spanish, a lot of times we fall into the trap of saying, yeah, the people in the United States are really cold, they're not as nice as they used to be. And if you even look at my videos, I've said that. But that was me under a spell of the beginning stages of learning a language. And why do I say that? Now that I've kind of taken myself out of this whole the grass is greener perspective, I see on a daily basis that myth of the people in the United States not being nice and being cold is not true. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I went to Kennesaw Mountain. Those of you that live in Metro Atlanta, you know it's one of my hobbies. I like to hike, I like to be outdoors, I like to walk and do all that kind of stuff. So I went to Kennesaw Mountain. When I tell you, everybody that saw me had a genuine, hey, how you doing? Hey, how's it going? To the point where I had conversations with, there were 6 people that came down the hill, and every one of them, we had a conversation about the hike and about life and about this. I even met a semi-celebrity, a YouTube celebrity on this mountain, a dude named Aaron Marino from a channel called Alpha M. He does style videos. I even met him there. He was even nice. He's got millions of dollars, lives in a big house in Marietta, and he even was nice and was speaking to me and asking me about myself. And so I say all that to say, if you're earlier along in the Spanish learning journey, you may fall into that grass is greener trap, but in my experience, it's not true. A human being is a human being. I don't care if you're in Atlanta, in Idaho, in Nepal, in Bangladesh. We're all human beings, and the same things make us tick for the most part. We have different cultures, but the same things make us tick. I also wanted to mention here, again, a lot of these points are random. I now understand, when I first started learning Spanish, I never understood why someone would learn a language that's not practical. I never understood the concept of learning a language as a hobby. I never understood that. I always attached learning a language with a specific function, with a specific use for that language. I now realize that there is fun and joy in simply being in your home and learning a language, even if you don't use it at all. I can now see the value in that because of this evolution of my perspective. I can see why someone may want to learn Punjabi just out of sheer interest, just as a mental challenge, versus something that you have to use to explore and travel 15 hours to get here to use it and really immerse yourself. I can now understand the logic behind learning a language for the sake of learning a language versus learning a language for it to be used. Okay? Because that's what I enjoy Spanish for now. I enjoy Spanish not because I have a desire just to travel everywhere, but I learn Spanish because I like watching YouTube channels where Spanish speakers create certain videos that I can't find in English, certain cartoons even. I've gotten back into cartoons. There are these YouTube channels that make adult cartoons in Spanish in Colombia, and I spend a lot of time watching those. I like reading a lot more, but I like reading a lot in general, but I like it a lot more now that I can do it in both languages. And so it's facilitating my life here instead of me just wandering and having some wanderlust around the world. Again, nothing wrong with that, but I'm noticing for me it's not who I am. Okay, hopefully this video has given you a perspective as to why I canceled my trip to Panama. I may have been rambling here. If you all can relate to anything that I'm saying here, please let me know. If you've traveled more than I have and you relate to this, or if you've traveled more than I have and you don't relate to this and you're like, this dude's an idiot, what is he talking about? I love traveling. I still at 60 years old enjoy getting a new experience, landing somewhere new, the fresh smell of a new airport or a new city, the wind that hits your face when you hop, when you walk out of an airport in a new city. If that's you, let me know. Again, I'm just documenting, guys. I'm no expert on any of this. Before I started learning Spanish, my idea of an ideal vacation was to go to a resort in Jamaica and eat beef patties and drink ting. Okay, so that's that in terms of this video. I also wanted to mention, I know that I posted in my community tab, on this channel, that I was going to come out with some shirts that said estoy aprendiendo español, me puedes ayudar a practicar. I'm learning Spanish, can you help me practice? Just as a conversation starter for native Spanish speakers here in the United States or wherever you live, right? That shirt did not work. I tried it, it did not work, and so I will not be putting that shirt out. Remember I said I'm only gonna put that shirt out if it worked, if it was functional. It did not work in terms of getting native Spanish speakers to approach me and speak to me. So I won't be putting that out. So if that's something that you'd like to do, just go to a website, a screen printing website. You can print one for yourself and get that done. The other thing that I wanted to mention here, and I posted it on my YouTube channel in the community tab, is that the book that I've written about how to learn Spanish, it's done. I've written it, it's completely done. It's 207 pages on Google Docs right now, but I'm getting it edited. For example, I may have forgotten little tildes, little symbols on letters and stuff like that. So I'm getting the book edited so that everything is correct. As soon as that happens, as soon as everything's correct, I have a cover, I have the book format. Well, I'll get the book formatted, I already have a cover. And once I get the editors to send me the final edited version with the correct Spanish structures or the Spanish symbols and all that kind of stuff, I will be posting the link for you all to buy it if you're interested on Amazon. Other than that, guys, I always say this because when I'm speaking here, it feels like I'm just rambling. So I apologize if it did come off as a video in which I was rambling, but I just wanted to share the sentiment with you all. If you start to feel like, man, I've been learning Spanish for a while. I used to love the idea of going to Guatemala and spending 3 weeks there practicing my Spanish, but now me da igual. Like, it doesn't seem any different to me. That's something that I've experienced. I'm experiencing it now. So yeah, I appreciate you all watching, and again, any advice for those of you who are more experienced or have experienced something similar to this would be greatly appreciated. I'm about to work out. Ciao.